Welcome back to Steve and Abby English. I am Steve.
And I am Abby. And before we do anything else, I need to get something off my chest. Something I have been thinking about for the past few weeks, and honestly, it has been making me a little uncomfortable.
Okay, I am already curious. What is going on?
So, last month I had to write a really difficult email. It was to a client who was upset. There had been a mistake on our side, and I had to explain what happened, apologize, and somehow keep the relationship from falling apart. And I want you to know, this is the kind of email that I normally stress about for an hour. I write it, I delete it, I write it again. Ugh, it is painful.
Yeah, I know exactly the kind of email you are talking about.
Right. So this time I opened an AI tool instead. I typed out a description of the situation. It gave me a full draft. I changed maybe 10 words, and I sent it. And my manager saw the email and said, "Abby, that was really well handled. You managed it perfectly."
Okay, that sounds like a win to me.
It does sound like a win. But then I had this thought I could not shake. I kept thinking, I did not really write that. I changed 10 words. My manager thinks I handled it perfectly, but I am not sure I handled anything. The AI handled it, and I sent it.
That is a very honest thing to notice.
And then it became a bigger thought, because I started looking at my work over the past few months. My emails are cleaner than they used to be. My reports are clearer. My manager is happier. By every measure, I am performing better than I was a year ago. But then I asked myself, am I actually better? Or is the AI better and I am just sort of along for the ride?
That question is why we are making this episode today. Because I think a lot of people right now are experiencing some version of what Abby is describing. And almost nobody is talking about it out loud.
It feels a little embarrassing to say. Like you are supposed to feel good when your work improves, not guilty.
But the discomfort makes sense. Because there is a real difference between your output improving and you improving. And right now, those two things can become very easy to confuse. Okay, let me introduce a concept I want to use for the first part of this conversation. I am calling it the output trap. The output trap. 2 words, output and trap.
Let me guess, this is the thing I just described?
Exactly. The output trap is when your results improve because of a tool, and you start to believe that you improved. The output is the same, or even better, so you think, I am getting better at this. But what actually happened is, the tool got better, or you got more skilled at using the tool. Your underlying ability did not necessarily change.
And the trap is that the output looks the same, so you never notice.
Right. And this is not a completely new problem. Think about spell check. When spell check became standard on computers, people slowly stopped practicing spelling. The word necessary, N-E-C-E-S-S-A-R-Y. People used to know how to spell it because they practiced. Now a lot of people just type their best guess and let the computer fix it.
Guilty. 100% guilty.
And for most people, that is completely fine. Spelling is a skill that exists to communicate clearly. If a tool does it better, you can let the tool do it. No problem.
So where does it become a problem?
When the skill that the tool is taking over is not just a tool for getting to an answer, but is itself the thing that makes you good at your job.
Okay, I need you to say that in a different way.
Sure, think about a calculator. I use a calculator for math, but I still decide which numbers to use, what operation to apply, and what the answer means. The calculator handles the processing. The thinking is still mine. But when AI writes my email for me, it is not just handling the processing. It is deciding the tone, the structure, the key message, what to leave out, how to express empathy. Those are the actual skills.
And those are the skills I am supposed to be developing.
And if the AI is always doing them for you, you might not be developing them at all. Even if your output looks better and better every month.
Okay, so this connects to something I started thinking about after that email situation, and I want to give it a name. Invisible atrophy. That word atrophy, A-T-R-O-P-H-Y. It means when something gets weaker because it is not being used. Like when you break your arm and it is in a cast for 6 weeks. When the cast comes off, that arm is thinner and weaker because it has not been used.
And the invisible part is because you cannot see it happening inside.
Exactly. I did not notice anything was happening. My work looked great. I felt productive. But then I tried to write a difficult email by myself. No AI, and I panicked.
What did that feel like?
It felt like I forgot how to start. I kept writing the first sentence and deleting it, and I was second-guessing every word in a way that felt worse than it used to. And the scary thought was, have I always been this uncertain about this? Or did I lose something recently?
And that is the hardest part about invisible atrophy. You cannot tell which one it is because you have not been paying attention to the muscle.
I think I stopped paying attention the moment the tool worked so well. Because when something is working, you stop checking it.
That makes a lot of sense. Let me give you another example that I think a lot of people will recognize. GPS navigation. Do you remember what it was like to know your city before GPS?
Oh, I used to be good at navigating. I knew the streets near my house, I knew shortcuts, I had a mental map.
And now?
And now I need GPS to get somewhere I have been 3 times. I genuinely cannot picture the route.
The tool did not just help you navigate. It replaced the process by which you were building a mental map. You stopped practicing, so the skill quietly faded. But you never noticed because the outcome, you got to the right place, stayed exactly the same the whole time.
Output did not change. Skill changed.
And the real-world version of this in your job is, what if it is happening with the skills that actually define your expertise?
And you never find out until the tool is gone. Or until the situation is so specific that no AI prompt can capture it.
That is when the invisible atrophy becomes very visible, very fast.
Okay, I want to take a second here because I know what some people are thinking. They are thinking, this all sounds very philosophical, but I am busy. I do not have time to do things the slow way just to keep a skill sharp. That is not realistic.
And I hear that. I really do. So let me offer something practical. There is a question I think everyone should ask, not just once but regularly, about each skill in their job. And the question is this: if I could never use AI for this again, would I regret losing the ability to do it?
Oh, that is a good filter.
Let me show you what I mean. Take formatting a report. If AI disappears and I have to format my own reports, do I regret not having that skill? Honestly, no. Formatting is a tool for making information clear. If another tool does it, fine. I do not need the skill.
But what about reading a room in a meeting? Knowing when someone is really upset even though they are being polite. Knowing when to push and when to back off.
That is completely different.
That is something I would regret losing. That is how I build relationships. That is how I know when to escalate a problem and when to wait. It is core to how I do my job.
And that skill requires practice. You get better at reading people by being in situations with people, by paying attention, by making wrong guesses and adjusting. You cannot outsource that process and still build the skill.
So the question is, for each thing AI does for me, Is this a tool skill or a judgment skill?
That is exactly the distinction. A tool skill is where the output is the point. The summary, the formatting, the first draft of something factual. A judgment skill is where the process is the point. You are not just producing an output. You are training your ability to understand situations, to communicate under pressure, to make calls when the information is incomplete.
And judgment skills are the ones that make you irreplaceable. Because AI can help you produce, but it cannot replace years of judgment you have built.
Not yet, at least. And in the meantime, if you never practice them, they will not be there when you need them.
So I have been thinking about what I actually want to do with all of this. Because I do not want to stop using AI. It has genuinely helped me. Some of my work is better for it. I do not think going back to doing everything the slow way is the right answer.
Right. That would be like refusing to use a calculator on principle. The tool is useful. The question is how you use it.
What I think I want to do is be more deliberate. Like, right now I just reach for AI automatically whenever something is hard. I do not even pause. And I think that automatic reach is where the invisible atrophy happens. I never stop to ask, is this a tool skill or a judgment skill? I just use the tool.
So the practice is pausing first.
Yes, and asking, do I want to keep building this skill myself? And if yes, I do it myself. At least sometimes. Not always, not every single email, but sometimes, on purpose.
Like going to the gym. You do not go every day necessarily, but you go regularly enough that the muscle stays strong. You go on purpose, knowing the outcome is not the point. The process is.
And here's the thing that makes this feel actually possible. It does not have to be everything. I am not trying to rebuild every skill at once. I just pick one or two things that I have been outsourcing. And once a week, I do one of them myself. Not to prove anything, just to check in, to make sure the muscle is still there.
That is a really low-pressure way to stay honest with yourself.
Because the scary thing, the thing that actually keeps me up at night, is not that I am using AI. It is that I might stop knowing what I am actually capable of.
That is the real cost of the output trap. Not that your output suffers, but that you lose the ability to accurately assess your own skill level. And that is a problem, because knowing what you are genuinely good at is how you make decisions about your career, how you know when to take on something challenging, how you know who you are at work.
And if your output is always AI-assisted, you might not have an accurate read on any of that.
Okay, I want to leave you with one last idea. It is something called deliberate practice. This is a concept that has been studied a lot in how people develop expertise. Deliberate practice. That means you do not get better at something just by doing it. You get better by doing it with attention and intention and some struggle.
And AI is very good at removing the struggle.
Which is why it is useful. The struggle is often slow and uncomfortable. But here is the thing about struggle in skill development. The struggle is where the learning happens. When something is hard, your brain is working hard too. That is the adaptation happening.
When AI removes the hard part, it also removes the adaptation.
Not always. Some hard parts are just friction, obstacles that waste time without building anything. Those are fine to remove. But some hard parts are actually practice in disguise, and those are worth keeping.
How do you tell the difference?
Ask, when I finish this task by myself, am I a little better at something? Not just done with the task, but actually better? If yes, that is practice. Keep doing it manually. If no, if you are just fighting something tedious that teaches you nothing, let the tool have it.
That is a really clear test.
And I think if people start asking that question, they will find that most tasks fall clearly into one category or the other, and they can make conscious choices instead of just defaulting to the tool for everything.
Okay, So, to summarize where we landed today, we are not saying stop using AI. We are saying use it with your eyes open. Know what you are handing over when you let the tool do the thinking. Ask yourself whether the skill being replaced is one you want to keep.
And check in with yourself regularly. Can I still do this without it? Not as a test, just as information.
And if the answer is uncomfortable, that is actually a good thing. That is your signal that there is something worth paying attention to.
Not every discomfort is a problem to fix. Some discomfort is just honest information about where you are.
All right, I think I am going to go write a difficult email by myself this week. Wish me luck.
You will be fine.
I hope so. Okay, that is all for today. Thank you so much for listening to Steve and Abby English. If this episode made you think about something in your own work life, please share it with a friend or a colleague. And if you want to leave us a comment about how you are personally navigating AI in your job, we would love to hear it.
We will see you in the next episode.
See you then!